What is up, my friends? You are welcome along to the latest episode of the Anfield Agenda podcast. As always, delighted to say that I'm joined by Mr. Chris Stonage and Mr. Conor Crosby. Now, last week, ladies and gentlemen, we had a little conversation. One of us is a bit bougie and likes to get coffee pods in batches, not just down the supermarket for a little pop. The delivery driver brings them in batches. Just when we thought, Conor, he couldn't become any more bougie, or maybe, now that he's living that matchroom lifestyle a little bit above the rest of us, he's only gone and treated himself to something new. Conor, would you like to inform the working class public there what Mr. Bougie below us has bought?
I think we can actually see it bottom left if you have a look at the robot vacuum. Look at that.
There he is, down there. For the audio listeners, I'm pointing at my brand new baby, which is a little Hoover. So yeah.
Have you named it? That surely has a name, does it?
I haven't given it a name yet, but I'll leave that. The naming rights will be confirmed in the next episode.
We are willing to take offers. It's out for tender at the minute.
Yeah. Actually, I'll put in anyone best comments for the name for my Hoover. There we go.
You know what, Chris? I'm going to fess up. I said to you earlier on, I've just invested in a bougie coffee machine myself, but I'm not allowed to have mine till Christmas. You know, we're not all in that any day of the week for big stuff kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, I'm sure you're looking forward to it. I would be, to be honest, because my latest batch did come in this week, and my goodness me, got some San Marino coffee. Incredible.
I don't know, Conor. We're supposed to be influencers. Where's our stuff? You know,
I don't speak Tory. I didn't understand the sentence of that.
I'm out here drinking Nescafe Gold and thinking that's bougie.
Yeah, it is. I think Chris in a different tax bracket, us, like, isn't
he? Yeah, he doesn't pay any. Clearly, I'm sure if I went to a company's house, we'll see Stonage Limited somewhere off in the Cayman Islands or something like that.
That's for me to know and you to find out.
There we go. Thank you very much, Mr. Saudi Stonage. Right, let's move on, ladies and gents, to actually talk some football, because it is the international break. But an article, Conor, caught my eye this week, and it was a piece that basically said after this international break, the next 5 fixtures for Liverpool are the second easiest of any group of 5 fixtures outside of Manchester United, who coincidentally happen to have the easiest run of fixtures. So we've got Forest, West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds and Brighton coming up. And I want to know, just to kick off this conversation, what is an acceptable points tally from those 5 games coming up?
I think given our recent form, I think we have to just bounce back in this, and I think at least 13 points. I think for anything less than maybe 12, just to maybe we'll give one off day and one maybe lost somewhere, but I think anything less than 12 will be an absolute disgrace. And it will be good if we get 13 out of 15 points even. Like, it'll firmly kind of pull us back into that, like, first, second, third bracket. Probably not first, but you never know. At least we'd keep some sort of pressure up there or start to secure that Champions League spot. So I think 13 points from that will do us very well. We'd be kind of solidifying our position then and give us a nice bit of a base then to kick on for the rest of the season and just solidify ourselves somewhere at the top of the table, wherever that may be.
For me, I'm fully in agreement with Conor, Chris, but I would go a little bit further. I would say 13 points is my minimum from these 5 games. I mean, Forest, we owe them one, so you'd hope we're going to be up for that on Saturday. You know, they did come and beat us in Anfield, deservedly, last season. West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds, Brighton. I mean, I'm looking at that and thinking it's 13 points all day, Chris.
Sunderland are playing well. They are playing really, really well. But I think, not to sound like the most obvious bloke ever, but 5 wins out of 5 is ideal. Probably 4 wins is more likely. I don't see us with the form we've played this season. I don't see us going and winning 5 on the bounce. I just don't think we've got that level of consistency yet. Against the likes of Forest, I think we've got enough, like, in terms of our pure ability. I worry with Sunderland, especially with their, well, it's a late night, it's a Wednesday night, isn't it, at Anfield? You know, who knows what could happen? I remember going to a similar game when we played Leeds a few years ago, and they beat us at Anfield. I'd say 13 would be achievable. I wouldn't even say we'll get that, though. I'm not going to say come out and be bold and brave and say we'll actually get 13, because I think there's a high chance we might get less.
So I've got to say, lads, when we're looking at those names, right, Forest, West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds, Brighton, with all due respect, if we're nervous about Sunderland at home on a Wednesday night, yeah, I mean, dare we have a conversation around winning the Champions League? If that's the level we're at, Conor, we're talking about being nervous for Sunderland of a Wednesday.
They have been good, though, in fairness to them. So, like, yeah, it's not... Yeah, it's not a great starting point for conversation when you're getting worried about these type of games, is it? But then, like, we've seen how we played against Madrid in the Champions League, and then, like, just if we actually show up, we can beat anyone. It's just we don't show up often enough, really. So, like, yeah, if we could get a good run out of this, and then, like, yeah, probably focus on the Champions League once we have top four sewn up. But yeah, not the best starting point for a conversation when you're going, geez, that's Sunderland, that's a bit tough. Bit tricky, isn't
At
it?
home as well. Sunderland at home.
At
And
home,
Chris
yeah.
tried to make it like somehow Wednesday made it more complicated. What's a Wednesday, lads? It's a Wednesday. I don't know about
We
a Wednesday.
mustn't forget it's been raining. We mustn't forget. The thing is, like, we have no right to be saying we'll go out and win 5 games in a row, not with the start of the season we've made. So I'm rather be, a little bit more, sit on the fence with this opinion and say that I'll take maybe 12 points, maybe even 11 from these.
Well, let's try and tie it all together then and look ahead to the 11. I mean, we'll jump down the schedule a little bit, but let's look ahead to the starting 11 for this game against Forest. 3 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. Conor, for you, are you going in same team maybe that played against Manchester City, same team that played against Real Madrid, or are you going to mix it up?
I think stick to that in all honesty. Like, if everyone's fit and all right, have to come back from the internationals, then yeah, I'd be sticking with that. Particularly Florian Wirtz off the left, I think is just like, it's kind of a no-brainer at this point, considering, like, especially how well he played for Germany the other night. Like, he kind of just flourished in that area. So I think I would say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it is a little bit broke given that Man City game. But I think against the likes of Nottingham Forest, it should work again. So yeah, I think we'd go very similar, if not the exact same 11 on Saturday.
Chris, I mean, I said when we signed Florian Wirtz, a hope for potential Ballon d'Or. Obviously, this is going to be next year's. Troy Parra has that completely sewn up. That's in the bag. But don't want to hear your Messis, your Dembélés. Don't want to hear anything. Troy Parra for the Ballon d'Or. But I want to know, mate, 11 for you, same as Manchester City? Or, we could say go again because we got the result against Real Madrid, but we didn't really perform against City. And, that has to be taken into account, I guess, as well. And I think...
Yeah, I think it will be. I think Gakpo's had a good international break again, as he always does, as it seems to do. And he'll be, vying for a spot. I think the same sort of skeleton that we've seen, that has to be done. I mean, that midfield 3, I think, has to play. Robertson should play at left back, although I wouldn't be, shocked if we saw Kirkes being eased back in the league games, because I'm sure that's Arne Slot's plan to push Kirkes further forward in terms of the pecking order. But yeah, that skeleton, especially the midfield 3, has to stay the same.
Yeah, I agree on the midfield 3. I think the 2 decisions, if we're being honest about it, are both on the left side, left back, left wing. I think, would I be right in saying we'd all prefer Robertson to play on the left side in this one?
Definitely, yeah.
The left wing really is a tricky one. It is, because you're both right in what you're saying about both of them. Florian Wirtz, Cody Gakpo, both looking fairly bright at the minute. I'm intrigued, though, Conor, to see what the manager does when Salah goes off to the AFCON in that regard. I was reading something from John Aldridge, an opinion piece he did in the Echo, where he was speaking about wingers not really swapping enough these days. We used to see with Mane and Salah occasionally, if one wasn't having much luck with a defender or vice versa, they'd swap across. So thinking ahead to Mo heading off to the AFCON, who do you think is really going to cover the right-hand side there? I mean, we'll all say Chiesa, but, will Arne play Chiesa on the right, or do you think maybe Cody or Wirtz might go on that side?
Well, I suppose there's a certain man from Bournemouth that might be playing there by January time, but we won't get into that just yet. If he doesn't come in, I think we could see us go back to that kind of, remember that 4-4-2 we played against Frankfurt with Florian Wirtz off the right, and then you get your Isak and Ekitike up front. I think that's definitely an option. I think in an ideal world, I'd nearly go 3-5-2. Obviously, we don't have enough centre backs for that, but you could almost get the width then from Kerkez and Frimpong, and then just have your 3 midfielders and your 2 strikers rather than having to have wingers at all. But I think more than likely we'll see something like that 4-4-2, or else I'm sure if Gakpo can play left, he can definitely play right. I'm sure Hugo Ekitike could do a job out there. So anyone but Chiesa, really, that's what's going to be realistic. We all want Chiesa, but it's not going to be him, is it?
No, it isn't going to be him, as much as we would all want it to be, and hold out hope for it. I want to kind of try and tie this all together, because the next thing on our agenda, I think Chris plays into this. On streams recently, I've been saying, I think it's time now that we no longer build this team around Mohamed Salah. I think the AFCON's going to give Ireland a natural opportunity to look to change it up a little bit, whether that is a tweak to formation, whether it's, as we spoke about a minute ago, swapping around wingers. But I just want to know, do you agree that, and it isn't just down to Mohamed Salah's form, it's more just looking to the future for me. You've got Vertek Atike coming into the team, and you've got Alexander Isak up top, a young new left-back coming in, Milos Kerkez. I just think now, with the AFCON coming up, it gives Ireland an opportunity without the media pressure, the fan pressure, or indeed player pressure of having Mohamed Salah sitting on the bench potentially for those games. I'd like to see us look to the future now and really build a team around the newer players.
I think you're spot on. And I think that's the whole reason why these players were brought in. We are building for without Salah with Salah. And that's kind of part of the problem because, you know, we know for a fact that in 4 years' time, Mo Salah won't be here. Likelihood is that those three players that we've bought will be. It's finding the right moment. And as you said, this AFCON presents a natural moment. The issue is, the big issue is Mohamed Salah is still very, very good. And it's going to be very difficult to displace him still. Even when he's not been in great form, he still won us points this season. But this is, as you said, a natural moment for him to know, right, this is what we're going to do. Do we operate better without him? And if we do, then no one's
scary question. That is a scary, loaded question, my man, because as you've said, what if we do? What happens then in the end or mid-January or the end of January when Mo returns? What happens?
You can't play him. Like, there's no one who's bigger than the club. There's no one that's bigger than the team. If we're winning games when he's away, and this is purely hypothetical, by the way, but if we are, then he doesn't get back in.
What if those games fall on a Wednesday, though?
Oh, difficult Wednesday.
We're playing Sunderland, though. Like, Sunderland have to be considered here, don't they?
On a Wednesday night as well.
On a Wednesday.
The greasy football. I don't know about that. No, in all honesty, though, it is something, Conor, I've pondered on streams lately. You know, it is a hypothetical, but let's say we do pick up a run of form when Salah's away, and the manager finds something in that team that just seems to work and reinvigorates the players. Do you think he is strong enough of a leader and a manager to not bow down to some outside pressure to reintroduce Mo straight away? Or do you think when Mo comes back, he'll be back in the team?
I'd like to think he definitely has the strength of character not to just like bow under pressure. Like, that ultimately is his job, is to do what's best for the team. But like we've seen already, like there's probably been 3 or 4 games at least where he should have been taken off quicker or shouldn't have started the game at all, and he still gets played. So it's hard to know whether he would or not. But then if we do pick up form, like, and then Salah comes back, I'm sure that will only motivate Salah even more to try break into the team then if he's not getting the options. Or maybe even like it could actually be better for us, like if he is coming on with 30, 40 minutes of a game left, like he's a well-rested Mo Salah, could be a different player than a 90-minute Mo Salah. Like if he is getting up in years and kind of slowing down a little bit, like it could actually work. Like, not to say he's a super sub as such, but like it could be a thing where if he plays less minutes, he could actually play better. So maybe it will be more beneficial overall as well.
Chris, I often put myself in a manager's position in these situations and think, what would I do? And I have to say, if I'm in Ireland's shoes, if it does go well when Mo's at the AFCON, I'm thinking that this is my time to make my mark, to lay down a marker in that dressing room to show that this is my team, that I'm going to be in control of this squad and this group of players, and my word is gospel. And I'd almost think this is my chance to prove, yes, I have what it takes, I can be ruthless, and to send a message into that dressing room as well that nobody is beyond reproach.
Yeah, I think Arne Slot does have that character. I mean, you look at his final team, the one that won the Eredivisie, he goes and sacks off 7 of them, and then brings in loads and brings in more players and has equal success. I think he has got the character. Obviously, it's now at a much bigger level with a global superstar in Mo Salah. Don't get me wrong, like that. Even if we're winning games and even if we're playing well, there will be a large section of the supporters and a large section of the media who will say, "Why aren't you playing Mo Salah? What have you got against Mo Salah? Because of everything that he's done for you." That's where his character will come from. I think inside the dressing room, genuinely, I think he will have that. It's the outside pressures, which I doubt a little bit more.
So somebody asked me this question the other day on the stream, and it really took me back and made me sit and think for quite a while. Even off stream that night, I thought about this long and hard. A couple of seasons ago, we had a £150 million January offer coming from Saudi for Mohamed Salah. And I remember streaming at the time and thinking, don't take this money, don't take it, no. But somebody asked me this week, if they came with £100 million offer in January and the player was up for it, would you accept £100 million right now for Mohamed Salah? And I've got to say, Conor, I'd bite their hand off.
Yeah, it's such a tricky one, isn't it? Because, like, obviously from a business sense and stuff, like, that would be far too much to realistically turn down. But, like, what a sad ending to a glittering career at Liverpool that would be if he went off to Saudi in January after hitting a bad vein of form. Like, it would just be very sad to see. But from a business sense, you would have to say yes, but sentimental, you'd have to say no. I don't know what the club would do, in all honesty, if they did get that. But obviously, like, if Salah was pushing for the move, I think they probably would accept it. But I don't think he would want to go. I think he'd want to stay, and ultimately the club would have to turn it down. But yeah, from a business sense, you couldn't really say no to that, could you?
Well, let's say hypothetically, Conor, before I come to Chris for his answer, everything that we've spoken about there happens. Salah's at the AFCON, Liverpool are playing well, Liverpool are winning. And Arna's said it, maybe dropped a couple of sentences in an interview saying it's going to be very hard for players to work their way back into this team. And then maybe Mo thinks to himself, I might have a bit of a fight in my hands here. I want to make sure that I'm still the guy, I'm still the star. And he decides that he's open to it. Would that change your thinking at all about it being a bigger deal? Or do you think he deserves the full season and a send-off, whether he goes the end of this season or the end of the next?
Well, I think if he wanted to leave, then yeah, fair enough. But I think if he didn't really want to leave, I don't think the club would want to push him out the door either, in all honesty. But like, yeah, in a scenario like you said, if the player was open to a move, we seem to be doing well without him, and then it comes up that we could get, I don't know, Semenyo and Slaughter back in January for the same money, let's say. Like, you could see a scenario where it does happen, but it's hard to know. It's hard to know if it would even happen at all. But I think the club would only sell him if he actually did want to go. I can't see us forcing him out the door in January if he doesn't want to go. Like,
I should probably give some context to why I'd take the money, Chris. 150 million to me at the time, 2 seasons back or so, I just had no interest in it because I didn't feel that Mo was done. I didn't feel that he was slowing down. I have to say, I'm starting to feel now that last season was more of a unicorn season. Not that he's dropped off as much this season from last season, but I think last season was just a perfect storm. Everything was just going right. Salah was in the form of his life. And this season, with the team struggles, it's almost natural that he struggles. And leaning into the whole building for the future part, that's where my answer of yes comes in. Because it would be a significant sum, it would be reinvested into the team, and it would again evolve the team to the next step. But as Conor said, I got to re-emphasize as well, Mohamed Salah has earned the right to dictate his Liverpool finish on his own terms. So as Conor said, he would have to be interested in the move himself. What about you?
I also think like he probably thinks he's way too good to go to Saudi, and I think he'd probably be right. There's not many players who still think of themselves as one of the world's best, and I still think Mo Salah is one of the world's best. I think you can still stretch back to last season with that, even with your point, Craig, and I do somewhat agree. So yeah, I actually don't think he would want to, but as you both said, business-wise, like, you look at it, you're seeing a guy who's pushing into his mid-30s, and you're getting, you know, that crazy figure of money for him, a player of someone who's only got 2 years, 18 months at that point now left on their contract. It's a no-brainer business-wise, isn't it? But are you going to be the guy to sell Mo Salah? Like, it's hard. It's hard because he's arguably in the top 2, maybe 3 greatest footballers to play for Liverpool. Like, that's hard.
I wouldn't lose a second sleep. Not
That's
a second.
hard.
If I felt it was the right thing, I'm a very black and white thinker. If I think something's the right thing, I think it's the right thing. And, you know, of course, respect is a key word in this whole scenario, and he has to be given that respect. But it doesn't happen unless he's open to the idea of it. And I think what we've seen with footballers now is they're almost looking to afterlife in football and the brand. And there's a lot of talk that like Ronaldo, Chris, could almost be given a stake or a team in the Saudi Pro League moving forward. So there's also a talk of legacy here as well.
I do think he will end up in Saudi. I think that's where he will go, and he is the crown jewel for them, because you look at him, he's arguably the greatest Arab footballer ever, and he's, you know, got such a global brand, scored loads of goals in the Premier League, widely respected across the world for being this incredible guy as well as an incredible footballer. He is the one for them. I know they've got Ronaldo, and I know that, you know, he's going to be the big guy for them. But if they get Mo Salah, it's a player who, is from their creed. It's a huge business signing if they get him, and they will. But I think he will still think he's too good for that in the next 2 years, and I think that's why he signed for 2 years, because he probably still thinks that he's got enough to play at the top of the game for that long.
One thing I will say is, I don't think Liverpool would ever be able to force a sale of Mohamed Salah. I think it is something that himself and his agent or his legal representative would certainly have to be won over by and on board with. Nor do I think, as Conor said, Liverpool would be looking to force him out. It was just, I think, an interesting thought exercise that somebody put to me there midway. I just think of all the coffee pods that we could buy. You'll be rolling all over the place.
Mo loves coffee.
Say again?
Mo loves coffee, so
he does. There you go.
I bet he orders his in.
He could. I bet he does, but I bet he has.
He has his own barista. To be fair.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
he hasn't even a barista living there.
I'm suspect of anyone who drinks tea over coffee. By the way, just on a different tangent, I'm completely suspect about it. You're just a pussy. Just admit you can't handle the caffeine and get on with it.
I would argue that tea is better in the morning, especially when I'm at home, like with my family, I will have tea. But if I'm at work, I'm going to coffee.
There speaks somebody young, because I'm telling you, mate, if you get to my age, you probably couldn't shit without coffee. And certainly there's no way that I'm holding a conversation or doing a video without coffee, because it would just be me looking at the camera with absolute disdain if I didn't have coffee. I'm not even joking. Don't even talk to me. You could tell me I've won the lottery and I wouldn't care. Just give me my coffee and shut up. So
anyway.
Yeah. It's a bit more than a morning routine. When you get older, and the aches and pains are there, the coffee really does help. So this links naturally into Antoine Semenyo, as I'm sure you can guess, listeners. And I wanted to move on towards the January market, because David Ornstein, Conor, with another brilliant bit of reporting, told us that Antoine Semenyo does indeed have a release clause that is active in both January and in the summer for different amounts. But interestingly, in January, it's £65 million. But it's only active for, and they don't have the exact point of this, but you would imagine it's the early part of the window. So was Bournemouth could potentially bring in a replacement. £65 million for me, I have to say, feels fair, Conor.
I think so, yeah. I think before the release clause was kind of revealed, all the reports were saying in that kind of 60, 70 million pound bracket. And even at 70 million, I think most people have said, look, that's fair enough given the form he's in, given the fact he's Premier League proven, he's still quite young. He's coming from a club like Bournemouth who have produced a lot of top quality players in recent years. So I think 65 million, you couldn't go too far wrong. Like you said, I'd imagine that release clause is probably, I wonder, is it would it be early or late? Do you reckon it's something you could trigger at the start, but you won't get him until the end, so they'd have the full 3 weeks to bring someone in or not? But it's an interesting one to see. I think someone will be all over that. And I think even if we did want to hold out, it probably will be a situation where if Spurs go in, we have to match it and go in as well if we want to get him at all. But I would probably put us in the top, probably us and Arsenal really, but then Arsenal have other business to do first to move on a few players. So I think if we do really want him, I think there's a very good chance we do end up getting him in January.
That's kind of what ties all this together for me, Chris, because we know there are other clubs interested. We know that Bournemouth will want to get in a replacement, but there was a report that said Liverpool have been talking for a couple of months with Bournemouth about this. Now, you would imagine that would have to do with the interest of the player, maybe the structure of the clause, payment terms, stuff like that. But £65 million, I think, would be good value for a player of his quality. Also, it would be good business for Bristol as well. They would, of course, get, I think, 20% above 10 million for anything there. So nice for your now local team there, Chris. Of course you live in Bristol. Vacuum, coffee machine. Of course you live in the artistic land of Bristol. But your Toriness aside, do you think that this is and by the way, I'm not saying Bristol's a Tory city.
Bristol's very green. Bristol's green, mate. Bristol's green.
Oh, so it's hippies. Don't even get me. Don't make me go full Cartman.
Anyway, Semenyo.
Semenyo, £65 million. What are we saying?
Your hand that's there, it's been firmly bitten off, if that's the case. Because I think we've said about a value. We did a pod before, and I think I was sort of talking in the region of 80, 90, 100 million even. This guy is class. He's got so much ability and so much room to improve as well. It comes down to whether anyone else makes a move for him. That's my opinion, because I feel like it's sort of like the Diaz situation when Spurs triggered his contract, had triggered his release clause. We were just like, right, we have to get this guy. We can't wait 6 months. Like, we have to go and get him. And I think it might come down to that, or what his value will be in the summer. Because if his value is at £90 million, then it's definitely worth saving the 25 million and having him for an extra 6 months. So it's a business decision. Do Liverpool want the player? I would say absolutely yes. I can't see a world in which he doesn't come to us. The only way he doesn't come to us is if he rejects it. That's the only way, because he is tailor-made for us.
Well, Conor, you mentioned Arsenal, and we believe Semenyo's an Arsenal fan, but we also think that Arsenal have potentially eyes for Rodrigo. There's also some talk that they have UEFA concerns around FFP to some extent. They're not in the Premier League's clutches. They're not worried about that, but they do have some UEFA concerns there. So there's a chance that they may have to move on somebody like Gabriel Martinelli, and then you would hope it's too late for them with Semenyo if we do make that move. So, one, I wanted to ask you, do you think we're going to get Antoine Semenyo? And if so, will it be January? And of course, this is all just guesswork.
Yeah, I think just like, even from like covering stories, I guess, over the last couple of years, like just reading everything, like you do see kind of patterns, and it just does have the hallmarks of a move we would do. Like, it's kind of just this constant chatter. Then this suddenly starts to break, and you have other people saying, like, we're interested, and we made a decision that we want him as the long-term Salah successor. So, like, if I had to put 50 quid on it, I'd say we do get him. I'm probably like 80% maybe in that category. I think we probably do. And I think it will be January, because I think the release clause actually drops in the summer, doesn't it? I think there's no number around that, but it does drop. But I think
it drops lower, yeah.
But I think, like, if people go, right, we'll save another 10 million and wait, someone else will come in and get him, because 65 million is a fair price. So I think he will ultimately move in January, and I think we will push for it. So yeah, my money would be on we do get him.
There was also some talk today, Chris, about Napoli inquiring about Federico Chiesa, and I wonder, would maybe all this be tied up in a neat little bow if Fede does maybe head back to Italy with the World Cup on the horizon? We know that he turned down the opportunity for a call-up from Gennaro Gattuso with the Italian national team. And this piece here said that Liverpool aren't against Chiesa's exit, but they want an obligation inserted into any potential loan.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Semenyo won't be getting Chiesa's game time. Let's just say that, because he'll be playing a lot more. But yeah, I don't see a world where Chiesa stays for another season. It's just a waste of a really talented player's career, especially for the World Cup year. I think it would make sense for him to move on in January if a move was made. If a move wasn't made, I think he would stay. I think just purely because we'll need the depth, even though he doesn't seem to get used. I think if I didn't realize Semenyo's release clause dropped in the summer as well, but yeah, that's really interesting, because that makes me think even more that we will only move if someone else moves first. Because I feel like it's a very Michael Edwards, Richard Hughesy thing to do, to wait it out and then see if anyone goes for him and then pounce, because I think we can tempt him over everyone. Like I even though he's an Arsenal fan, I think there's so much more competition for places there at Arsenal. I think if you lose Salah, which you will do in a year and a half, even his game time might start to deplete, as we've spoken about. Semenyo is going to start most if not all games for Liverpool. Like it's a no-brainer for him.
I was looking, Conor, at a piece Sam Maguire put up where he spoke about his like for Semenyo, the fact he's two-footed. But very interestingly, the last line of Sam's post was, "I don't like buying attackers who are running hot." And that made me think he's got a good point. Last year Semenyo was good, but he wasn't as good as he started this year. So it must be an interesting conversation with our recruitment team to look at the underlying numbers and ask, is he in a purple patch, or is this now the new norm for somebody like Semenyo, the form he has now?
Yeah, it is true. But then, like, I would back our data team, our analysts and all that, to like not really make rash decisions on players like that. Like, they're not going to be swayed by the last 5 or 6 games. I think people have done their research, and I suppose even he could look at the other way. He could say, like, right, he hasn't been playing at this level, but he can. Like, we can get him to that level consistently if he's in a very good team, surrounded by the likes of Hugo Ekitike, Alexander Isak, Florian Wirtz. Like, if you put a good player into a team with even better players. Like, his level's just going to elevate. So I think, like I said, we won't make any rash decisions on like his form at the minute, but I'm sure the club will have done their homework on him and will have seen that he would fit into the system. And if we do pull the trigger, I'm sure we'll be absolutely confident he will work.
You didn't mention Mohamed Salah there, Chris. See, he sold him already in his head. Oh, I caught you, Crosby. You can try and slide one past me, but I've seen that disdain in your eyes. Club legend, and you're just throwing him away like he doesn't matter. No, in all seriousness, though, Chris, there's something that Semenyo has that we don't have, which is that just power, pace, directness, and that two-footed ability. There's a breakdown of the type of goals he scores or the type of shots that he takes, and it is very rare to see somebody as two-footed. And, I think back to maybe Adam Lallana, to a player of that ilk, the last time you've seen him, a genuine two-footed footballer at the club. Maybe Wirtz to some extent you could put into that conversation. But with Semenyo, he does tick a lot of boxes, and he has a big physical presence as well.
Yeah, he's got absolutely everything. When everyone used to speak about Adama Traore and say, oh, he's just got everything. You wish he could finish. Like, Semenyo is so polished. Like I genuinely don't think this is a purple patch. We've seen steady improvement every single season. I just don't see a world in which he doesn't go to the top, like whether it's with us or whether it isn't, because as you said, two-footed ability, like this seems to have been lost in the world over the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years, because we've had really, really strong left-footed fullbacks, right-footed fullbacks, same on the wing. You've got Salah, who can really only stand on his right foot and use his left foot for everything else. It's a natural thing, and that dynamism that he's got, like, you look at all our forwards, realistically, I don't think any of them are hugely quick. I think Isak, when he gets up there, is pretty rapid, but apart from that, like, no one's coming close to Semenyo. As we said, that's the one thing we're lacking.
See, the thing that gets me as well is value, and I feel like the club will think there is value in this at those numbers. It is certainly a big markup, like we said, about the 10 million they paid Bristol, but for a proven Premier League player in the prime of his career, £65 million feels like a pretty decent deal, lad. So I think we're all on board with this one. But if you're watching this on YouTube, do let us know in the comments your thoughts on Semenyo. Would you like to see him at the club? I want to switch it to the other end of the pitch now, gents, and speak about Ibrahim Konate. This week, Conor, he's spoken about being frustrated at some of the things that he's seen in the media, and then kind of wondered, would this impact Liverpool fans' opinion of him? And he said that sometimes he just wants to kind of almost scream out loud when he sees stuff that he thinks is patently untrue. But there was a part where he said, I am happy. And that was an interesting line to me. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but I'm leaning more towards Konate staying than not staying at the moment, and I wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah, I feel like if he's throwing out phrases like that, it does sound like it's a positive thing. Like, he's not going to be like, well, I'm happy having signed a 350 grand a week contract at Real Madrid. Like, it's probably not that. Yeah. So that's true. But like, yeah, like it does sound positive. And I think I'm usually an optimist in these things. So I like to look at these things as the good side rather than the bad. So I would take that as a positive update. Whether we actually do get him to stay or not is another thing. I think there was a few reports during the week that we kind of made a final offer to him. So I think we will probably find out in the next 3 or 4 weeks what's happening. But I'm definitely feeling a little bit more optimistic about it now than I would have 3 or 4 weeks ago.
And for yourself, Chris, do you think we're going to get to a number that, because the number said it's the biggest offer that they've made so far, it's one that would put him into the higher bracket of earners at the football club? For me, I'm thinking he's 150 grand a week defender, not really much more than that. I wouldn't be putting him up 200 grand or above, but ultimately I would much prefer him to sign a new deal than leave. So your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a case of like looking what's out there and how he in talking about future proofing as well. Like, Van Dijk's only got 18 months left on his contract in January. So Konate, the club will clearly see him as someone who is the long-term successor. I've said before, like, I'm a bit meh on him signing a contract, but the more it becomes more of a reality if he does sign it, I think it's a wise decision, just purely because of the lack of centre backs we've got currently and the ones that are out there at the moment. There's not many who are as good as Konate, I think, that are gettable, and the only one is Mark GUEHI, and hopefully he's going to be coming. So yeah, I hope he signs. I honestly don't know which way to go though off those quotes. I don't have and it's given me nothing because it could literally be interpreted anyway. So
I was just going to say it could have been interpreted as his line was, the most important thing is that I am happy. Now that could mean the most important thing to me is that I'm happy in life, not necessarily as a statement that the most important thing is ... I'm happy here. You know, the word here wasn't there, so it is a little bit open to that interpretation. All right.
Yeah, exactly. As I said, I'm still meh, but as you said, 70%. I'd be very much Konate, sign that contract. Let's move on. You can be, our number one centre half going forward when Van Dijk leaves, because I still think he does have so many top quality attributes. We can't forget even with his poor start to the season.
Well, kind of just this afternoon, actually, a bit of a breaking story coming out of Spain that said Liverpool have pretty much wrapped up the signing of Marquez from Crystal Palace, despite the interest from FC Barcelona and Real Madrid. Bruno Alemany is the journalist, we believe, from a fairly prominent radio station when you looked into it over in Spain. I mean, that would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's definitely a few reports recently have kind of gone that way, especially from the Spanish side. Like, they seem to have conceded defeat, even like they were saying, like it's to do with wages and stuff more so than anything. I think it is just Liverpool convinced them to come, and that was it. They had to admit defeat, but they had to kind of put this story out that no, we don't want them. He's too expensive. Liverpool can pay him that much if you want, but we don't want them. But yeah, definitely looking positive. I'm probably at 95% at this stage we will get him, but like whether that's January or not is another thing. I think if we do have him wrapped up, I'd imagine we will just wait rather than splashing 20 million in January. But I think we should bring in someone as well as that in January. But I think, yeah, Mark A for the summer is probably pretty much boxed off at this point.
Well, for me, Chris, centre back is the position I think should be the first one. If any business is done in January, that gets done. And Mark A seems, if he's open to the move, because of course he may want to stay put in a World Cup year, but if Mark A is open to the move, I guess the question I'd be asking is, what's the number that you would try to tempt Palace with? Because of course, from our side, you're going to want it to be the lowest number possible. From their side, you're going to want it to be the highest number possible. But the realism, or the realist in me, kind of says it'll probably cost 20 to 25 if you brought him in January.
Yeah, it's like it's not worth it for Palace to let him go, really, because he could help them go and win the Conference League. Like, let's not forget, and that'll be prize money of getting into the Europa League. So they'll probably offset that. Excuse me, and think like, okay, how much can Mark GUEHI earn us, and how much would we be willing to sell him for? I just think it would be silly, really. I've thought about it, especially if we can go and get Semenyo. That money would be more wisely spent there, especially if this GUEHI thing is all tied up. He is, on a free transfer. That's like signing of the summer territory. Like, that's an incredible deal. A player who should be worth 50, 60, 70 million on a free England international. Like, if we've got it tied up, it makes sense to leave it till the summer, because I think our money would be better spent elsewhere in January.
See, I understand completely kind of where Chris is coming from, and I don't really disagree, but I do have something at the back of my mind that just makes me think if we don't get a centre-back in January, it's going to bite us in the backside before the season's out, because I keep looking at the minutes and the repetitions of Mohamed Salah, of Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahim Konate, just being played over and over and over again, and it just in my head keeps coming down to someone's getting injured, someone's going to have an injury there. And then if it's at the crux of the season, which is going to be the Champions League knockout stages for us, if we're being honest, it's a tough one, man. I think I'd rather spend the money. I'd rather spend the 20-odd million.
Yeah, I can see that, to be fair, and I'd agree with your point that we definitely need a defender. But I think what the club would probably do is, like, if we are planning on bringing someone else as well to, let's say, replace Gomez, maybe you do bring in Mark A in summer and you bring someone else in January. And then next season, Gomez probably leaves and you're but Van Dijk, Konate, GUEHI, Leone, and some other young centre-back. And you have 5 options. And then we could see us go to that 3-back that the under-21s were playing. Like, it's not completely out of realms of possibility that could happen. So, like, I think another centre-back in January, along with GUEHI in the summer, would be my preference. I don't think we should spend any more than maybe 10 or 15 million on GUEHI in January, but they probably wouldn't take that. So I'd probably opt for someone else, and then have like your 4 or 5 good options then next year when Gomez leaves.
So just to finish up as a bit of a thought exercise, Chris, if he came in January, Mark A, is he immediately partnering Virgil van Dijk for you?
I'd probably say no. I just think, like, I think Canate and Van Dijk's relationship is really good. Long term, 100%. I think he's got a higher ceiling and is probably better than Canate. But if he came in straight away, I probably would say no.
I would disagree. But from a different thought perspective, I would think that he would only come if he was told, we need you, you're going to come in and you're going to be partnering Virgil van Dijk because Canate's form is up and down. So for me, Conor, I would say yes. But I wonder, is Ibrahim Canate an interested observer here as well? Thinking, right, well, if they're going to bring in Mark, I tried to bring in January, is that a bad sign for me? Should I be signing this contract extension? Would it play into his thinking?
That's a good point, yeah. Like, if we do see Canate sign in the next 2 weeks, should that indicate that, one, maybe we are going to trade it back and the plan is have GUEHI, Van Dijk and Canate, or else does that suggest that GUEHI mightn't be coming at all? Yeah, because I hadn't really thought of that, in all fairness. So it's a good point to bring up that maybe Canate should be watching, because like it obviously is his space being targeted if GUEHI comes in. I seen someone the other day as well suggesting that Mark GUEHI, I can't remember who it was, some journalist was saying, like, if we had signed him, do you reckon he would have been starting left back for us now? Which isn't an awful shout. Like, do you go for like the Arsenal thing of just having as many centre backs on the pitch as possible? Like, there is a world where that could happen in some games as well. But I just thought that was an interesting one as well.
It is an interesting one, Chris, and also it would kind of lead into what Conor mentioned as well, that back three possibility.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against it, but I think back threes. I don't know whether I've just got a personal vendetta against them, but I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. But the only way I can sort of see it happening is because they've bought in Frimpong and Kirkes. They are two, I think, pretty much bona fide wing backs, especially Frimpong. I think that maybe that explains. We were trying to get GUEHI. We had Leone. You know, maybe we thought Gravenberch could slot in as well. I don't know. The other thing for Canate is he's got to think, how long's Virgil van Dijk going to keep it up for? Like, do we expect to see Van Dijk sign an extension after he finishes his contract? Because, to be honest, like, I know we haven't had the greatest start to the season, but I don't think Van Dijk's been culpable for any of it, to be honest. I think he's played okay. Like, he hasn't.
I've always thought, Chris, of the two of them that signed the extensions, he's the one that maybe has another one in him.
Yeah, I like, because if you're Canate, you're like, okay, I'm the long-term Van Dijk replacement, but when's he gonna leave? Like, it's like you can't spend your whole life. It's like Prince Charles and the Queen, isn't it? Like, you can't spend your whole life waiting to be a replacement for someone when actually you might be just as old as them by the time they leave. Like, it's nuts. So yeah,
so he should have killed his mother, is what you're saying. That's what you're suggesting here, Chris. Live.
No,
I'm out of here, lads. I can't be arsed waiting for this Elton to kick the bucket. I'm done. I've waited long enough now.
But you know what I mean? Do you understand the logic? Like, it's you can't spend your whole life waiting. And if someone comes along for Canate and promises him to be the first choice centre back, then I wouldn't begrudge him to go.
See, I just don't see Canate as a leader. I know he won't be the captain, even if we're just talking about leading the back four. I don't see it. I don't see that leadership in him. I don't know how you feel about that.
Fair, hasn't he? So like, he probably is seen as a bit of a leader, but in the squads he's in. But yeah, it's hard to know, just looking from his character, what kind of a fella he is in the dressing room. But yeah, he definitely has captain France a few times now.
I would say 100% he seems like a really positive person to have around. I would say that 100%. He always looks like he's making lads smile, and I'd say he's a very positive influence in and around that dressing room. And you know, I'm sure the manager loves him being in there as well. I've not seen a content or a clip from him that he's not making somebody smile or he's not being upbeat and positive, which always goes a long way in the dressing room. Right, gents, just before we finish up, a quick score prediction for the Nottingham Forest game coming up. I don't think we'll record again before the weekend, so I'm going to start with you, Mr. Stonage. Give me a Nottingham Forest prediction.
I think we'll win 3-0. I'm going to be positive. I think we will get an early goal and we are going to keep a clean sheet. And I'm avoiding saying my typical trope of we'll go 1-0 down, because we're not going to concede this time, lads. 3-0.
I love it. I love the positivity. Mr. Crosby, yourself?
I'm going to go 4-1. Like, we're going to start clicking up front and get a few in, but we will concede one somehow. Just a dodgy corner or something. We will concede somehow. But yeah, 4-1.
I'm not going to go into a score prediction because obviously I want people to watch the preview, but I'm agreeing. I think a win. I'm going on board with a win, and we're going to get back to winning ways, and we're going to get up that league table. So look, we've gone through a lot in what has been, I guess, a quiet couple of weeks with the international break. Thank you so much to Chris. Thank you to Connor. Thank you to you guys, of course, for listening. If there's anything in this that offended you, we were just taking the piss and blame it on Chris. You know, his social media accounts at this point. He's well used to dealing with it. You know, you don't get to the heights he's risen to in Matchroom where it's all robo vacuums and coffee pods without having the ability to take a bit of banter. Appreciate you as always, folks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch up with you soon. Take care.